This is TWiT.
I tell you what I care about, brown liquor. What do you got for us?
Well, we've been doing this How You Make Scottish Whiskey series, and last week we were talking about the barley part and the fact that because there's so much demand for Scottish whiskey these days, most barley is shipped to the distilleries as grist, already malted, dried, and ground to specification. And I haven't really gone through all of these different steps. So we know it's a particular kind of barley that they tend to use, particularly the two-row barleys. But malting, we talk about whiskey being single malt, and we can get into what single malt actually means at some point. But malting is the process of turning that dry kernel of barley into enough sugar that you can actually make some wort from it through a wash process. So you have to essentially sprout the barley. That's malting. Oh. And again, most distilleries today have this done by a commercial service. They don't do it themselves. But there are an exception, and that's my pick of the day, which is from the Bowmore Distillery. Their Bowmore 15, which is a favorite of mine. Not especially pricey, about $70 if you can find it. It is a peated whiskey because it is from Islay, and we'll talk about why that is. And aged in bourbon casks, American bourbon casks, because they're plentiful, and then finished in sherry casks. So again, you don't know when you put it into a barrel how long you're going to leave it in the barrel for, but when it gets to a certain flavor profile, if you're happy with it, then you would put it into a finishing barrel for 3 years or so. So for a Bowmore 15, it spent 12 years in bourbon, and now it's spent 3 years in sherry, and you get it quite out what they call a burnt sienna, this very reddish color in the whiskey. Drinks very nicely, smooth, but peated.
Yeah,
because after you have to be up for the peat. Is that something you want? And Bowmore is an unusual distillery because they malt their own barley. So they buy barley from a bunch of different places. Can't only get it in Scotland. They don't get enough of it. And then they'll soak it in water for 27 hours, as they say. They're particular about the river to get the water from, all these little details. And then they'll spread it out on these stone floors in their malt barns.
Oh my God.
And let it sit for days. And about every 24 hours, they'll turn it. They'll turn over the malt until it's sprouted, till it's what they call green malt. So the long chain carbohydrates that are made in the seed that are very durable begin to enzymatically process into sugars, which then can be made into the plant. So now you have a little bit of root poking out the bottom of the seed, a little bit of stem poking out the top of the seed. It's been malted. And now it has to be killed, dried. And so that is
now it has to be killed.
Kiln. Yeah. He's pronouncing it properly.
Killed. Okay.
Killed is how you say it, though. Yeah.
Gotcha. But killed is also correct because you are going to now kill the plant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I sprout. It's funny because when I make brown rice, I sprout it. I like sprouted grains. There was more healthful for you, so it's interesting. Well, I didn't realize that's what malting was.
It makes it more healthy. It's exactly what it is.
Yeah. Easier to digest.
Yeah.
So went to dry the malt to stop it from growing before you're going to now grind it up to then send to the wash. It's put into kilns where it is heated, typically about 60 degrees centigrade, enough to stop the growing process and be ready for grinding. Dry it out enough that it'll grind well, not go mushy. Now, the Islay is a region in Scotland. It's an island. It's an island and it's extremely windy. And so they don't have very many trees there. And so they use peat to run their furnaces for malting.
Wow.
Because they don't have anything else. And that's where the smoke flavor, the peaty flavor comes from. Is that you have peated the malt by drying it, by burning malt, by burning peat.
I'll be diggity danged. Look, they do it in a barn that's made of windows.
They malt.
Nice. The Windows logo.
Yeah. This is really interesting, Rich. I'm glad you're doing this. I also know this would be a good whiskey to have for this weekend because Formula One kicks off this weekend and they have an Aston Martin version of the Bowmore, which is hysterical. Wow. And I'm a Fernando Alonso fan, so I'm going to get one of these Aston Martin versions.
An old Aston.
Look at that old Aston. Yeah. That's the James Bond Aston Martin. And there's
that's
the F1
a pre-James Bond Aston.
So I'm gonna. Well, this one is these are the racing Astons. So I'm gonna definitely have to go with one of those for F1 weekend. Wow. Bowmore.
So that's the Bowmore. This is a cigar whiskey. If you like smoking cigars,
which I do,
you'll like it. Those two get along very, very well. I do not like cigars.
Yep.
But when I'm, say, smoking a brisket, if I'm stoking myself through smoke, I'm perfectly happy to be drinking this.
There you go.
I can't smoke cigars. Bad for you. But I do smoke a lot of brisket. I'm going to get some Bowmore. We'll have an F1 and brisket weekend. How about that?
There you go. That'd be get some good fun.
The jury's still out on which is worse for you, smoking cigarettes or eating brisket. But, we'll leave that for another day.
Listen, but if you had to choose.
Pretty sure the jury's not out.
You kind of do.
It depends how much brisket you eat. Mm-hmm. And whether you eat the fatty end or the dry end. Anyway, that is another story for another day. Richard, you're great. Thank you for going all the extra mile to do the show from Auckland to New Zealand.
It worked out very well, I think. And tomorrow,
I could never do this en route. That is amazing.
Well, it did. It worked out great.
This week we'll be at the farm. I'll try and stick a camera outside so you can see the farm is in the Shire. Those rolling hills and so forth. So.
I hope all your doors are round.